Hi, this is Tom Needham, and you are listening to the Sounds of Film. And boy, I am so excited to have on the phone with us today Robert Kool Bell from Kool and the Gang. Kool and the Gang celebrating 50 years in the music business. It's just incredible. Through the years, they've won 7 Grammy Awards. They're the most sampled band of all time. They've sold over 80 million albums. They have 25 top 10 singles. And Robert does so many different things. He runs Just Cool Enterprises, where he makes Le Cool champagne and Just Cool cologne, among any other things. And it's just really, really exciting for me to talk to Robert today. Robert, thanks so much for joining us on the Sounds of Film.
Okay, Tom, thanks for having me.
Wow, congratulations on 50 years. Can you believe it?
It's hard to believe, actually, Tom, to be in this business for 50 years. But it's been great. I mean, it's been hills and valleys, but hey, we're celebrating. We made it for 50 years, so we're looking to have a good time this year. So.
Well, I mean, you must be doing something right. What is the key to your long-term success? Because many other groups just can't do it like this.
Well, I guess one of the things, when we started as youngsters. I was only 14 years old, and my brother 13, and then George. We're all around the same age. And one thing that our parents used to tell us, she said, whatever you do, make sure that you stick together what you do. And we have been able to do that, the original members, that is, over the years. We have been together a little more than 50 years, but our first record came out 50 years ago. We started back in 1964. At that time, we called ourselves the Jazzy Acts, and then the Soul Town Band, Kool and the Flames, and then Kool and the Gang. We changed the name to Kool and the Gang because at that time, around 67, you had James Brown and the famous Flames, and we didn't want to have any problems with the Godfather.
Yeah.
So we changed our name to Kool and the Gang instead of Kool and the Flames. And that's when it all started. So July 3rd, coming up July 3rd, of this year will be 50 years.
Now tell me about the sound of Kool and the Gang, because it's really evolved through the years. But from the beginning, you guys always had a very unique mixture of funk and jazz and rock. How did that sound develop?
Well, we started off playing jazz first, as I just mentioned. And then Soul Town was an organization that was trying to be like Motown. They called themselves the Soul Town Review, like the Motown Review. And we became the backup band for the Soul Town Review. And with that, learning all the hits from Motown, our sound was developing from the Jazzy Acts, that was our first name, to the Soul Town Band, and then Kool and the Flames. So by the time we recorded our first record, which was called Kool the Gang, we had developed a sound that was a mixture of jazz, funk, and R&B.
And did you know from the beginning that you had something special?
Well, we were young. It was the love for the music, and we enjoyed what we were doing. And as time went on, we felt that hey, we can really make a statement out here, because we were listening to like my brother and some of the other guys, Dennis Thomas, George Brown. We were listening to Miles Davis, Freddie Hubbard, a lot of the jazz guys, and then of course when we got involved with the whole Soul Town thing, we started learning, the Motown hits, but we didn't know where we were going at that time. We just loved what we were doing at the time. And it started to develop. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, one of the songs I have to ask you about, because it's a personal favorite, and we actually feature it here on the show quite a bit because the name of the show is The Sounds of Film, is your early hit, Hollywood Swinging. That has to be one of the most memorable songs of all time. Everyone loves it. It's been sampled a lot. Do you remember how that song came about originally?
And again, that was one of the songs that we one of the things we always wanted to get to Hollywood. So we ended up writing a song about it. But Frankie Crocker, he was a major DJ in New York.
Yeah.
And they used to call him Hollywood Frankie Crocker. So when we put that whole song together, you know, he was in mind, and the fact that Hollywood is Hollywood. Everybody wants to try to get to Hollywood, right? So, and that's how it came all about, you know, the Hollywood swinging record, you know. And it became one of our, you know, hot top hits.
Well, one of the things I had to talk to you about is the fact that while you've had so many successes in the music business, no group has been used practically as much as Kool the Gang in movies. It seems like every director wants to use Kool the Gang music in their films. And I don't know if it's just been good luck on your part, but you've had the good fortune of having Kool the Gang in some of the biggest movies of all time, whether it was Saturday Night Fever or Pulp Fiction. Do you remember when the Kool the Gang track got into the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack? And what did that mean for Kool the Gang at the time?
Well, that was a time where our career was going up and down. That was around mid to late 70s when disco was disco was having a bad time, and they were talking about, you know, burning records in Chicago and disco this, disco that. And our record company came to us, and there was this movie called Saturday Night Fever, and that they wanted to use Open Sesame in. And with John Travolta, of course, and the Bee Gees, I think it was Casey and the Sunshine Band. We said, well, great, sounds like a great idea. And because Open Sesame was a dance record, you guess you can call it disco, but it was very aggressive on top. You know, you listen to the horn section, and that was which was played on Open Sesame was very jazzy on top, and then had the the disco beat on the bottom. And so anyway, they used the record in the movie, and the movie was one of the all-time biggest movies, Saturday Night Fever. And the album sold almost 25 million, and then, of course, Michael Jackson came around and knocked us out of the box with Thriller, but but it was great, man.
Well, it's amazing how a film can take a song and completely out of context and then just give it a whole other life. Another movie, which was many years later, which for me was like really fascinating in the way that it used the music, was Pulp Fiction. It used your music in such a prominent way at the beginning of the film, and featured it like right up front on the soundtrack. And I think for a lot of people that at that time had a lot of your popular hits in mind, maybe not everyone at that time in the pop audience knew about like some of your earlier, funkier, crazier stuff. And I think Quentin Tarantino just kind of like used it at the right time. And then for me anyhow, and I think a lot of people, made me want to go back and explore some of your earlier work. What did the use of your music in Pulp Fiction do for Kool the Gang?
Well, it definitely was another big success for us. I was told that Quentin Tarantino was a Kool the Gang fan.
Yeah.
And I guess as he was deciding what he wanted to put into the movie soundtrack, he just had, he loved Jungle Boogie, and it all kind of worked. The thing about that is that, you had John Travolta.
Yeah.
Travolta was in Saturday Night Fever.
That's right. Yeah.
And you come around, here's John Travolta again in Pulp Fiction.
It's amazing. When you think about Hollywood swinging and Jungle Boogie, it really is such a different sound than what a lot of people knew, when people were listening to Cherish and some of Kool the Gang's later hits. How did that conversion occur where you became more of a pop-driven group for a while? I mean, tremendous success.
Yeah, well, of course, the hits of the '80s, "Cherish" and "Ladies' Night" and "Get Down on It" and "Fresh" and etc. With our lead singer at the time, James J.T. Taylor, was more on the popular side, as we say, the pop side. But to go back and a guy like Quentin and grab Jungle Boogie from the '70s,
Yeah,
quite interesting because people were used to, hear like I said, Cherish and Fresh and Celebration, and I get Jungle Boogie was kind of like new to that. Like for instance, we did a concert in Atlantic City, and after the show, this young guy came up and he said, "Hey, Mr. Kool, whatever, I like that new record you did."
right.
I said, "What's the record?" That Jungle thing, man, that Jungle Boogie record. I said, "Oh, okay." Now, I realized this guy was only 10 years old. He wasn't even born when we did all that stuff.
Wow.
But from the movie and probably from their parents, passing it down,
Sure.
is how it kept that alive. The whole a lot of stuff we did in the '70s, like Summer Madness.
Right.
Summer Madness was came out in the '70s, and it was Rocky's first movie.
That's right.
And then Will Smith turned around and created a song called "Summertime," and became a #1 record for him from Summer Madness, and he won a Grammy on that. Then he went on to be a movie star.
So you have all these Hollywood connections. So your dream did come true of getting to Hollywood.
Yeah, we sure did, because, like you're saying, all these different writers and producers and filmmakers started to look at what we were doing. It's been amazing. Yeah.
It must be kind of heartwarming to know that your music has influenced not only so many fans, but creative people. Like when people get to go and make a movie, they're inspired by your work and want to include it in their movies, in their TV shows and such. That's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then it reaches more people. So,
right.
Let me ask you, you mentioned Will Smith, and I said earlier that Kool the Gang's music over the years is one of the most, if not the most, sampled groups of all time. I've talked to a lot of different musicians about their thoughts on sampling, and I've noticed in the beginning people were not too fond of it, and now it seems like a lot of people appreciate it. I'm kind of curious, like, what is your opinion on sampling?
Well, like in the beginning, like others, I guess what have said in the earlier days was that how they were using the sample, and a lot of times music was being sampled and not being properly done. And it wasn't until they passed that law about sampling where the record companies had to then get clearance. So when they got clearance from the artist and the publisher, then it made it, make more sense, people are using your music and not giving you the credit for it.
Yeah.
Then I guess they have to they started, stating who, the song came from, et cetera, and it made it better for the writer and the producer, like a Will Smith. And people thought that Will Smith wrote the song. Well, she did write the lyrics. But when you hear "Summertime," you hear "Summer Madness" as the track.
Yeah.
He didn't change that much of the track. Of course, the lyrics were the lyrics. "Summer Madness" didn't have lyrics, But it just opened up a whole new market for us, And so then we started looking at it a little differently, that we can get clearance on this stuff. And people will come and ask, man, I like this record, I'd like to do a sample on it, and et cetera, et cetera. A sample from it, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the same thing happened with James Brown, too. Are there any rap songs or rap artists in particular, besides Will Smith, where you've really liked the way that they used Kool the Gang's music?
Well, another one was, at that time, he was Puffy, now he's Diddy. He used Hollywood Swinger.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah, with Bad Boy, with Mace.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know.
And it was a couple others.
Does it bother you in the least, like you said, that you know a new generation may not even realize that it's sampled, like that they almost give credit to the hip hop artists, like thinking that somehow like they came up with the music, or is that just the way it is?
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me. I guess that's like the Jungle Boogie thing. You know, of course
Yeah.
he wasn't around then when Jungle Boogie came out in 1974.
Right.
Pulp Fiction, I think, was in the 80s, right? So.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't. I mean, because we get the respect, that all these things that we have done musically, and that people are recognizing it.
Yeah, and people become students of the samples, and they go and they check out the real thing. Um, well, we have to talk about those peak years. It's rare today for someone to have as many hits as Kool and the Gang did. You had some stretch, you know, Celebration, Too Hot, Ladies' Night. Tell me what it must have. What was it like for you during that period? It must have been insane. You just nonstop hits.
Yeah, well, it's a good time for us, to be able to continue to sustain ourselves over the years. Because you got to realize we started in the '60s, and we had a name with funk and stuff that we were doing in the '70s, and then the '80s. That's when J.T. Taylor was in the band, and we became more of a pop band, as they said,
Right.
top 10, top 5 pop records, or top 30 or whatever. So it was all good, and that our music was an evolution, because it started as jazz and then into funk, jazz, pop. Back in the '60s, we didn't know we were gonna have a lead singer when we first started in 1964 as a jazzy act, because we were playing jazz and funk, and we were backing up a lot of singers with Soul Town, but we didn't know that we would actually have one in our band.
Mm. You know, this show takes place here on Long Island, and I'm actually involved with the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. And, you know, I was just talking to someone about how it really bothers me that Kool and the Gang is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I know that you've toured with a lot of rock groups through the years, and people love your music from all different backgrounds. You've traveled and toured with Dave Matthews, Kid Rock, Van Halen. And everyone knows that, like we were just talking about, that your music has been in lots of popular movies. And I was wondering, do you have any sense as to why Kool and the Gang hasn't come up yet for nomination for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Because I think you certainly deserve it.
Yeah, we ask that question every year, man. It's kind of mind blowing that we not recognized for what we've done,
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it's a group of certain people that makes the decisions, every year. So I guess you got to be a part of that team. I don't know. It's really kind of mind-boggling as to.
Well, I think you do belong, and I think there's a precedent for it because, you know, they've inducted Prince and James Brown, and you know, it's not like they're only doing rock music and.
What about Grandmaster Flash?
Exactly, yeah.
The OJs. I love them guys. I mean, if you talk about the rock and roll, if they can't say, well, Kool Gang don't play rock and roll, okay, fine.
Right.
But look at some of the groups you got in there.
Yeah. Well, look what they did to Nile Rodgers for a number of years, and
yeah.
But well, in any case, I mentioned earlier, because I know we don't have a lot more time, that besides all the success that you've had with Kool and the Gang, that you're a businessman too. And do you want to tell our listeners at all about some of your other ventures, quickly, because I think they might find that fascinating.
Well, my wife and I, who recently passed about a month and a half ago,
I'm sorry,
from glioblastoma and cancer, but she and I set up a company called Just Kool Enterprises. And she had been pushing me to do some other things, and things I wanted to do also. I had to have the time to do it. So under Just Kool Enterprises, we set up the Kool Kids Foundation, which was mainly her baby. And then I'm involved with Le Kool Champagne, which is a I have a champagne deal with a company called the Berthelot family out of Reims in the Champagne country of northern France. And also Cologne. It's called Just Kool Cologne. And I met some people on tour about a couple of years ago in Europe, and they had asked me about would I be interested. And I said, well, yeah, let me see what you got. And the fragrances that they had, and it all kind of made sense. And we went on and put that together. That'll be coming out this year. The champagne just came out. Cologne will be coming out, say, by the summer. And then I got involved with Dusty Baker. We formed a company called Kool Baker Energy, which is dealing with solar energy.
Wow.
And our focus right now is in Africa for the moment, because we want to do what I call power concerts, and this is concerts, in the stadiums or what have you, that's powered by solar energy. I mean, because the sun is there, the solar. The sun heats up and creates the grids, the panels that creates the power for the music, and also to help in different villages that they don't have no light or no sunshine. I mean, they have sunshine. That's the good thing. They have sunshine.
Right.
So solar makes sense.
Well, that's really interesting. Do you get any kind of like satisfaction from working on products like this, doing business that you don't get from music? Or, I mean, you seem like a very busy guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, music is my life, of course. It all started with the music,
Yeah.
But, I guess I have always been a person that like to diversify. In Africa, I've been going back and forth to Africa for almost 25 years. And looking at different things that could be done there. I was made the ambassador of tourism for the Ivory Coast so many years ago, and trying to bring more businesses to West Africa. And I just find that diversifying into other areas is all so helpful. It takes me a little bit away from what I do normally on the road, but it creates new avenues of opportunity.
That's great. As you look back at 50 years of Kool the Gang, is there anything in particular that you're going to hope that people remember about Kool the Gang the most?
Well, there's several different events over the years. One of the ones is what we did actually in Africa, in Kenya, was for AIDS awareness, and the concept was no glove, no love. And to try to get the people, young and old, to protect themselves. We drew over 500,000 people in front of the Department of Health in Kenya. And that's one of the ones that really stood out,
That's great.
Another one was for the children of Africa, which was blessed by Nelson Mandela at the time when he got out. And, Miriam Makeba and a lot of the South African artists, we did a big concert in Nigeria. It was called For the Children of Africa.
Wow.
So there's been various different events, Elton John, we did a big show with him when we had Ladies' Night at the Wembley Stadium at the time, which was, it was not a minimal thing. I mean, even going out with Van Halen for 48 nights, so that was, that was very memorable also,
Well, you've had some amazing career. I have to say, as much as I like listening to your records, I enjoy seeing Kool the Gang live even more. If there's anyone out there that hasn't seen Kool the Gang, I highly recommend it. What can people expect when they come to a Kool the Gang show?
Well, we try to do a high energy show. Most of the time we're doing the hits that people know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we venture out and do some other things, some jazzier things or funkier things, but our show is about the show and about the hits that people remember and reminisce about, when they was young or going to high school, like a song like Too Hot, or other songs like, like we talked about Jungle Boogie or Hollywood Swinging, and, it's a lot of good memories there.
And you've been one of the ones to stay in the group the whole time. What would you say has been your major contribution to Kool the Gang?
I guess right after that whole period when disco was dying, and we were like on, hills and valleys. We're in one of those valleys again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with my wife, and we were over in New York, and we noticed that Studio 4 Regimes, they had a ladies' night. Every weekend was a ladies' night, and so we had just decided to get a lead singer, and that became, J.T. Taylor, and we were putting the music together. I said, I got a great idea for a song. He said, oh, what? I said, ladies' night, and hanging out. He said, yeah, you hang out a lot anyway, so. So we said, wow, that's a good idea. Let's try that. And, for the ladies, this song, that song is just a song, sometimes celebration, and get down on it. Ladies' night.
Wow. I can't believe it. You just so many hits, so many moments. We've been speaking to Robert Kool Bell from Kool the Gang, and I just want to congratulate you on your 50-year anniversary, and highly recommend to all of our listeners that you check out all of Kool the Gang's music, and also look for Robert's cologne and champagne and other things that he's doing. Thank you so much, Robert. It's really been a pleasure speaking to you.
I got one more thing. My son has a song called Royalty that we pushing now.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Prince Hakeem, he dedicated this to his mother, because I lost my wife, as I said, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So.
And where can we find that song?
Well, right now it's I think Spotify and YouTube. We just did a video, and we're close to closing our new deal with Universal Records again. So we're going to pick the record up and make it part of our deal with Universal Records.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
Well, thank you.
And hopefully we can play some of that as well on The Sounds of Film. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Kool Bell from Kool the Gang, celebrating 50 years. Thanks, Robert. Bye-bye.
Okay.